Right, here we go. How you doing, mate, right?
Yes, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad, man, not too bad. I gotta be honest, basically, I was looking forward to this podcast in particular.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like every time we get together, we do have those small conversations, which aren't normal conversations. They just feel a bit more beneficial, if you know what I mean.
I bet you say that to every guest.
No, I try not to, basically. But you're only my second guest at the moment, so
Oh,
hopefully
okay.
you can make me famous.
No, well, I don't know about that, but I'm honoured to be on here. Like, yeah,
No, I
thank-
appreciate that,
thanks
obviously.
for having me.
And obviously, thank you for coming on as well, because it's not the most easiest thing to do, especially given the fact that we're going to discuss a few things as well. So, the one thing obviously I value the most out of anyone, and it's what I've learned the most as well, is opening up and just talking about anything, but doing it in a way where you can be quite proud of what you're doing. Do you feel like you've kind of had that in the past where you want to say so much, but you haven't been in a position where you could just say it? Maybe to certain friends around you, or just where you are in your mind space. Do you feel like you've kind of been there before?
Definitely. I think we all have those moments sometimes where you want to say stuff, but you're not sure it's acceptable or socially acceptable, and you just keep it in and let it fester. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Do you feel like you've changed because of the people around you, or do you feel like basically the person you would have become the person you are, regardless of the people that are around you?
No, like 100%. The people I keep around me, family, friends, the close ones, like they've definitely been like inspirations to me. I take inspiration from loads of things and different people, and I definitely wouldn't be who I am or where I am
Yeah,
if it wasn't for those people. However, at the same time, you kind of have to manage that. You can't take everything. You've got to pick and choose what you want to take from different people.
yeah, exactly.
And kind of build your own canvas.
Yeah. What inspires you?
It's a good question. Passion. I wouldn't say there's a specific area, but anytime anyone's passionate about anything, like even if it's got a negative view of what they're doing, it might be a certain bad thing, but it's the passion that gets me, because passion is the greatest motivator. I think for someone to do anything, you need that passion and that fire. So regardless of what it is, I like to try and figure out what gets that person passionate about what they're doing, and take inspiration from that for what I'm passionate about.
Exactly that. And I'm actually quite glad that you mentioned passion as well, because I think it's one of the most misunderstood concepts that are around in our generation at the moment as well, where because of society expectations, and obviously I'll be quite interested to see what you think about this as well, but because of society expectations, people never follow their passion. They never do. You fall into jobs basically that you're doing but you don't love doing, and there's a massive difference between talent and skill. So talent is what you have naturally, basically, is what you're gifted at. And skill is basically when you perfect your talent, and you obviously perfect over hours and hours of craft. But not many people seem to understand that concept of talent and skill. A lot of people think basically they can just pick up skill without any sort of talent. But if you do that, my personal belief is you are not going to be happy, basically. You can be the greatest marketeer, you can be the greatest business development manager, or the greatest gym instructor, whatever you might become. But if you don't enjoy it, then you will never give the 110% you're supposed to give, basically. There'll be a moment where you're almost dreading you're coming out of bed. And people basically, I think they struggle to understand how that thought process works. And the first part, I think, is basically understanding your gift. And that's the way I understood it from my perspective when I came upon embarking this journey. Your gift is basically what you've naturally been gifted on by the universe or by God, or whatever you want to call it. And it's the thing that you do the most easiest with the least amount of effort. That's your gift.
Right.
Then the hard part basically is linking your gift with a plan. So basically, how do you first basically understand what you're good at, and how do you link it towards a plan? And the best way to basically understand what your gift is, I personally believe, is imagination. Imagination for me is absolutely everything. Imagination is everything. So only if it exists in here can it basically exist on the outside. If you're trying to basically manifest something on the outside, but you haven't thought about it, you haven't envisioned it, or you haven't imagined it, it cannot go the way that you want it to go, because it starts in here first.
Yeah, of course.
Tell me about what your thoughts are on that.
No, yes, I mean, I agree with a lot of it, but yeah, I think you're right. Like in saying, I think we've all kind of done a job or done or in a career or been in a career where you're not so passionate about it, and like you said, you wake up with that dread of, oh, I'm gonna have to go through this every day. But for me personally, I never thought I could enjoy a 9 to 5. I didn't think that was possible till last year. Like where I'm working now, I'm actually very happy, and like I enjoy it a lot. And that's not down to the job title. It's not down to the industry. Well, partly is, but it's more about the people I work with, what responsibilities I've been given, and how I'm treated. And if you told me, I was going to say 10 years ago, but even 2 years ago, that I was going to be in a 9 to 5 that I was actually passionate about and that I enjoyed, I wouldn't have believed you. I
Exactly.
would have thought you were chatting absolute
Yeah.
rubbish. But here I am. And that's why I wouldn't go as far to say you can't be passionate about a marketing career or a business development career. However, you need to find out what within that role or within a career, a 9 to 5, makes you passionate.
Exactly that.
And for me, it came with responsibility. It came with having a feeling of making a difference. Working in healthcare helps me do that. So it's about understanding what works for you.
Exactly that. And I think sometimes basically you can fall into something and then realize that you love it anyway.
Exactly.
And
That's
those
exactly what happened to me.
exactly, and that's when you get the really blessed and lucky people in my eyes, basically. And there's other people who basically keep resisting where they are, and it's because they don't enjoy it. No matter how much they try, they don't enjoy it.
But sorry, can I just stop you there? Because you used the word lucky, yeah?
Yeah.
And I've been called lucky before. But I've done a lot of crap jobs for a very long time.
Exactly that.
And I don't put it down to luck. For me, it's persistence.
Yeah.
I think what you mentioned about imagination is 100% correct. You need to have your ideas and your plan in your head. But I'm sure you'd agree with me, it doesn't always go to plan.
Exactly
Like,
that,
there's
yeah.
a lot of things you can't control. However, I think persistence is a hugely underrated characteristic. And
Yeah.
that's not something you're born with. Persistence comes through, unfortunately, bad experiences.
Yeah.
When you go through rough times, when you go through those crap times where you got your back against the wall, that's when you find out how strong you are. And I think persistence is a huge part of me and part of what's helped me get to a point
Yeah.
where I feel I could be happy every day.
Yeah, it's the journey, isn't it, basically, where a lot of people basically feel like when they're not in a good moment or they're not enjoying what they're doing or they're not happy on a general basis, they want to give up. But if you give up at that specific moment, you have no idea what's in store for you
Exactly, you
the
have no
very
idea about
next
the
day.
blessings.
Exactly. That's the main problem we have in our generation at the moment, where you're absolutely right. You may not, you might land in the first job and you might not be enjoying what you're doing, but that doesn't matter because that's not the end of your life there and then. Basically, is you have to understand that there is a tomorrow,
Exactly.
but you have to listen to your own intuition. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, move on. It's absolutely fine. But what you can't do is just resist it and not do anything about it. The people basically who get to where they want to get to are the ones who just realize the fact that the only failure that there is in life is when you give up.
Exactly.
Apart from that, it's just one door closes, another one opens. And that's one thing I think I really value about you, where you're right. Maybe I have called it luck, but it isn't luck because there's a journey behind where you've come from, and that's from going from bad experience to bad experience, testing and trialing as well, and everything basically has a trial and error approach to it, and then getting to a point where you look back and you say that journey was worth it because I wouldn't have been where I am at the moment if it wasn't for the journey. So
Exactly.
everything has a specific reason to it. Do you basically look back now and you feel blessed to go through what you have gone through, even the most negative stuff? How do you feel about basically your kind of journey so far?
Yeah. There's been a lot of stuff that when you're going through it, you think there is no end to it. You think this
Exactly.
is life. My life is going to be shit for this amount of time. And it from our era and being our age, and I think maybe we're just slightly a bit older than that, but everyone has that social media view. Everyone sees the success of others and thinks,
Yeah.
I need to be successful now, today. This week I need to get this, but it doesn't work like that. We all know life doesn't work like that. Our blessings come at different ages, at different times. We're all running our own races, and I think that's something people forget. People are always looking left and right at what others are doing, but really and truly, it's yourself you've got to look at. You're only competing with yourself, and there's a lot of stuff you can learn, and a lot of things you can learn from your negative experiences, and it's your view on that, it's your mindset. And I think us both coming from like a sporting background helps that.
Yeah.
Like when you have a bad game in football, for example, you can sit back and be like, oh, I played rubbish, and blame it on your teammates for not helping you out or whatever. Or you can think about, maybe I should have released the ball a bit quicker. Maybe I should have had a better first touch.
Yeah.
And having that sort of mindset where negative things will happen, but you learn from them. You don't let them get you down, and you just look forward to the next moment, the next time. And that's the hard part. It's ridiculously hard, but like you said, going through these experiences makes you understand, and when you reflect, you understand, okay, if I didn't go through this rubbish period, I wouldn't have learned this, and if I didn't learn that, I wouldn't have got where I am now.
Exactly.
So,
Tell me about a time when basically you felt like, from a mental health perspective, you couldn't do this no more. And I just mean that in a general way. You couldn't do what you're doing anymore, and you had to sort of think about a scenario where you can sort of just unplug and start all over again. Have you gone through that?
Yeah, yeah. A couple of years ago. It was a series of like a lot of negative experiences. I had a near death experience where I nearly died on a motorway with my mum. Going 100 miles an hour, tire blew out on a car on a very wet, busy 4-lane motorway. I was in the far right lane, so furthest lane away from the hard shoulder. Tire blew out going that fast.
Wow.
Lost all control of the car. So it was a Range Rover, so a big car. And somehow, just in my head, I like triggered into PlayStation mode. So
Yeah.
I was like, playing Need for Speed. I was just tapping the brake and trying to move. And eventually, within about 15 seconds, it was ridiculous. But I accepted that we were going to die. I was like, all right, this is it. My mum grabbed my arm. She didn't even say much, but she was staring at me. But somehow we got into that hard shoulder. A couple cars stopped to check we were all right, and we were completely fine. And we came out without a scratch. And I was doing a job where I was going in at 7 a.m., leaving at 8 p.m., having no social life. I was working on the weekends to try and like get ahead. It was a sales job in the city. And I just realised in that moment, like we were sitting in the RAC going to the nearest service station. I was like, all right, this ain't it.
That's
like,
crazy.
The last 4 months of my life, I don't remember anything because all
Yeah.
I've done is work. So I was like, all right, I'm quitting tomorrow. It was a Sunday it happened. I came in on a Monday, quit, handed in my notice. And without knowing what I was going to do next. And then I just started to reflect, and I started to think about, like you said, the environment I'm in. And it wasn't certain people, but I feel like in London it's a very toxic environment.
Yeah.
You feel like you're competing with the person next to you on the tube, the person you see on the bus, your colleague. Like, it's just a melting pot of so many people. You feel like you're competing all the time. So I decided to move to Milton Keynes, and then I moved there, and I got the first job I took, awful job. Had a manager who was like 4 years younger than me. She had no clue what she was doing, but she was related to our director, who she went and gave bad reviews of me and whatever, and I had enough. And at that point I was like, okay, this was like a 6-month period. I was like, what is going on? So I was like, I just need to get out. And I saw randomly a role for so I used to coach football, for a international development coach in Beijing, China. I was overqualified because it's a level 2 coach job, but I was UA for B, but I thought, nah, I'll just take it anyway. It was a good salary. They give you a place to stay and all of that. So I moved to Beijing, and it was a good role, but it wasn't about the job. For me, it was just like, okay, I've got a chance here to kind of get out the bubble, to go literally 9,000 miles away from everyone and figure stuff out in my head.
Yeah.
Because I lost track, and again, just being in the rat race of what was important to me, what I found helpful. And I had a friend who had done similar, and he always told me about how helpful it was for him to go work abroad and get away from everyone to kind of realign in his head. So I went there with the same sort of idea, and I was there for about 5 to 6 months, and I came back, unfortunately, because the Chinese government stopped all the contracts, so we had to come back. But that whole experience, like, it just helped me realign and understand what mattered to me. And like, from the people I missed, like the friends I missed, the family, my cricket club, and I also realigned what I wanted to do. And I was like, you know what, there are certain things I want to achieve, and there are certain things I would have liked to have done. And as much as I enjoyed Beijing, I had a great time. It was amazing. I was like, nah, okay, I kind of know what I want to do now, and I know exactly where I want to get to. It's just about understanding and not getting lost in the bullshit. Sorry for the language.
No, all good.
And all the things that come with the life
Yeah.
in this city. But I was able to kind of understand. All right, I'm gonna keep. I was able to understand what the bullshit is and what mattered to me, and and now I'm in a place where I'm a lot happier, and I'm very grateful for that experience and for what happened leading to it. Although there was and it wasn't just a car crash. So I was doing some bad stuff before that as well. Got in some trouble, and all those experiences, like, at the time, felt like I was just rock bottom. And
Exactly.
I feel like I've been there a few times, but I also feel like the times I've been in rock bottom are the times that I've come out of and felt a lot happier.
Yeah.
Because that teaches you, like, well, when your back's against the wall, there's nowhere to go but forward, right? So it just teaches you where you need to align and how you need to get there.
Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? Because if you don't mind me saying this, that car crash was probably the turning point in your life. If you look
Yeah.
back now,
Yeah.
difficult to say within the moment, of course, because in the moment it is so raw. And let's not
Yeah.
forget, obviously, your mum was in a car and it could have gone very differently, but it hasn't. And we don't concern ourselves with what's happened in the past. But looking back on it now, that was a turning point in your entire life. If that car crash didn't happen, you wouldn't be where you are right now.
Yeah, definitely. That experience combined with another experience I won't touch on too much a couple months later with the police. Like
Yeah.
those two experiences combined, I thought about all the time in China. Like
Yeah.
I got very ill when I was there, and like deathbed ill, like it was serious ill. And those two experiences kept playing in my head because I was thinking, like, if I didn't do those things, I wouldn't be here. And then it started from a negative seed, but everything I learned from there and thereon, I was like, okay, I need to be serious. Like, I need to give my, like, it was like a kick up the backside. But yeah, through those negative experiences, a lot of good came through.
Good stuff, exactly. And I think that's the most. I think your experience is so inspirational to anybody who's watching this as well, because they could be going through something right now because of the virus, because of lockdown, because of whatever it may be. And they have to understand that where they are today is not the end. It's just basically a pit stop to where they're going to get to. But only if they're awake enough and if they're in the correct mindset, then basically they can take the blessings from the current situation. And I think without you knowing that, you did that anyway, because you saw the car crash and you thought to yourself, what happens after this? And what does this mean for me? You took it as leave your job because I'm not happy of my current situation and go to China where I feel I can restart and detox and then come back as the old Sajif. And you did that because you had the mindset to look at that situation as an isolation period and realize the fact that I need to learn from this, and the only way I can learn is if I take myself away from it and understand what it means for me. A lot of people don't do that basically. A lot of people are in this self-destructive cycle where they're going through the same thing over and over again. And the reason, if anybody's listening out there at the moment, the reason basically why you're going through the exact same thing, which it could be a terrible boss, a terrible relationship, you could be going from girlfriend to girlfriend and have same toxic relationships because you're not learning from it.
Exactly.
You are not learning from the experience. The universe, God, life, or whatever you want to call it, they will give you the same experiences again and again until you learn from it. And once you learn from it, the situation is more in your hands compared to what's happening around you. Then you can understand basically what can I do with it, and you can move on. And like I always say in every post, like I always say in every video, your life is in your hands. But it's one thing basically saying that, it's another thing taking it into your hands.
Exactly.
And you did that basically. The car crash happened and you thought to yourself, this is the end because first of all, well, it wasn't the end, but secondly, it isn't the end because I can learn from this, and that's exactly what you did. What would you say to the Sajif looking back on that experience right now? So, for example, just before, let's just say 6 months before the car crash.
Yeah.
So we know that you were a totally different person back then. I can see you smiling as well. So you know you're a totally different person back then.
Yeah.
You were doing things differently. You were talking to different people, and you were just acting differently. Regardless of the car crash, let's imagine that didn't happen. What advice would you give to that Sajif right now?
Interesting. I wouldn't say I was a totally different person, but yeah, there was a lot of growing to be done. It's hard because that guy made me who I am now, right?
Yeah.
And those experiences made me, so I wouldn't want to take away from that. But as cheesy as it sounds, I'd say to that guy, just keep going.
There you go.
Because I was in a very, very dark place for a long time, and that whole year was very tough. And there's a lot of times when you think, is it worth it, or am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
And to be honest, there is no right thing. There's no right or wrong. It's just your journey.
Spot on.
And like you said, if you are able to take your decisions and your life into your own hands, there is no wrong or right. It's your mentality towards it. If you're willing to learn, and if you're willing to fail and come back from it, then you can learn and you can grow. But I think that's the biggest part as well. A lot of people are scared to fail.
Yeah.
But I failed ridiculous amount of times.
Yeah.
I failed way more than I've ever succeeded. But failure is the biggest lesson.
Bang on.
It's the best teaching you could do, is to do something and fail at it.
Exactly that. And for me, it's one of the most guarded secrets that I think I kept within all of us. And there is failure and there is giving up. People basically mix the two together and realize the fact that if you fail, then it's the end. It's not the end. There's two concepts of failure. Basically, there's one which is giving up, and there's the other one basically which is fail forward. fail forward. So basically, when you fail, move forward. And people, because people basically disregard movement as progression. If you're moving, it doesn't mean you're progressing in anything. You could be moving from pillar to post. You could be moving from job to job, getting pay rises. You could be doing whatever you want, but it might not be progression. Basically, progression comes from within, and only basically when you find happiness from within can you affect it on the outside. So if you look at failure and you understand that this is it, this is the end, then yeah, you haven't failed. You've stopped. You've quit. You've given up. And once you do that, basically, you might as well basically shut up shop because there's nothing going to be happening afterwards anyway. Because the only thing that separates basically people from who succeed and the ones who don't succeed are fear and faith. Fear and faith, the true similarity between fear and faith basically is they're both required to believe in something that doesn't really, that they can't really see.
Not tangible. Yeah.
It's not tangible, exactly. So it's a win-win situation to just believe in failure. Don't believe in fear. So when you fail, consider it as a blessing, consider it as an experience. But if you believe in fear, then basically you will soak it up like a sponge. And it's energy as well. Energy is contagious. So if you believe in fear, you will soak it up and you will never move forward in your life. You'll never take risks and you will never basically understand that every day is a fucking blessing. Excuse my language, but every day is. But if you're scared to take risks, if you're scared to basically go out of your comfort zone, if you're scared to get comfortable being uncomfortable, then basically you will be ordinary. And I have nothing against the ordinary people. Be ordinary. You're special within your own way, basically. But for those who are trying to become entrepreneurs, for those who want more than life, for those who look at a situation and say, I don't want this to be my situation. That could be a toxic family, a toxic work culture, mental health problems, an injury, a sports injury, whatever it may be, basically. The ones who don't accept defeat are the ones basically who I praise because they go on and achieve great things within themselves. They become their own legends. And that doesn't mean you have to become a millionaire, you have to become famous, but within your own right, you become a legend. And I think obviously when you look back at your life, it's exactly that. There's been monumental events that have occurred in your life, from family kickoffs to car crashes to sports injuries, which have affected you, but they haven't ended you.
Exactly.
They haven't ended you. They've just affected you, and they've affected you in a positive way.
And the important thing for me to understand is it's not going to stop. I know maybe next year, who knows, I will fail again. I will fail more. There will be moments where I'm going to feel like rock bottom again. But like you said, I'm not scared of it.
Exactly.
I don't have the fear of it anymore because I know I've hit that place and I've come back. And if I hit that place again, I'll just do the same thing and I will come back.
Yeah.
And it's that faith in yourself. And you mentioned religion and universe. I'm not a religious person, but 100% I believe in energy. And I believe if you're going to put out positive energy, it's going to come back to you. And even through failure, if you're able to put out that positive energy, and I'm not saying put on a fake smile or go and speak to everyone, but for yourself, if you're able to give yourself that positive energy and give yourself grace, then it will help you in the long run. I'm a big believer in that energy will come back to you. And also, giving up, we always talk about giving up negatively, but sometimes giving up is the right thing to do. Like if you're in a toxic relationship, for example, give up. Like that's not the conventional way we see of that term, give up. But sometimes you have to give up in order to get to your next blessing. So don't give up on yourself, but sometimes you have to give up on certain situations.
And even that isn't giving up in a way. Basically, all you're doing there basically is looking at a situation and understanding that it's run its course. And the only giving up in that particular scenario, I would say basically, is if a person says to themselves, I never want to be in a relationship ever again. That's fucking giving up. That's giving up. But however, if you look at a relationship, whatever relationship it may be, and you say, this relationship has run its course, and I no longer can grow from this relationship, and neither can he or she or them or whoever they are, basically, you complete it and you move on and you try to grow new relationships. I'm a firm believer in the fact that you grow where you're planted. And that is such a important phrase in my life. You grow where you're planted. If you plant yourself in a toxic environment, then you won't grow properly.
Very true.
You will not grow properly, basically. And that could just be in any way. If you plant yourself in a toxic way in here, then you won't grow. If you continue to soak up the negative energy, the negative people, the bad experiences, you will not grow. However, if you pull the roots out and you plant yourself somewhere new, you will flourish. You will flipping flourish, basically. And it could be because of your mental health. It could be your perception. It could be the people around you. It could be experiences. But you have to sometimes, you're absolutely right. You have to remove yourself from the situation to basically embark upon new blessings. And it takes a powerful and a brave person to say, this isn't my life right now. And this isn't basically my life for the future. I refuse to accept this. And for me, basically, it's the law of resistance. You have sometimes have to basically, as well as attract things, you have to resist things.
Yeah.
You have to
It's just
resist
as
things.
important.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to say no. And if when you do that, choice comes into play. And what separates us from everything else that exists on this planet is choice. We have a choice. Animals, plants, anything else, it doesn't have a choice, but we do because of a conscience. Take that choice back. Every day, make a choice. Make a choice to be happy. Because if you do that, you will find yourself falling into different places where you are flipping happy.
Yeah.
But if you remove the choice and you just say, why is this happening to me for? Oh, my life is so shit, and you're just pointing a finger at everyone. And if you point a finger, you point back at you, right? And if you just keep doing that, basically, then you will never move forward. You will never ever move forward.
And I like that point you make about making a choice to be happy.
Yeah.
Because some people might look at this and say it's not that easy.
Yeah.
But it really is. It really is that easy to make a choice to be happy.
Yeah.
Because if you're taking happiness from, I don't know, coming first in a race,
Yeah.
or getting the highest sales in your department, then a lot of that is out of your control.
Yeah.
And as much as you can succeed, a lot of that is going to be out of your control. So if you're putting your happiness on something which isn't in your control, you're almost setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
So if you're able to take happiness in the small things, in the time you spend with your family, in the interactions you have with your friends and your loved ones, or just even like doing the gardening, or going to the gym, or doing a bit of art, like whatever it is that your passion is, if you're able to find happiness in that, then you've already won, because you're happy every day.
Yeah.
And from there, positivity grows.
Exactly, and that's when you find joy as well, which is basically the ultimate level up that everyone wants to achieve. And I said this obviously in the previous post, but it's being happy without reason. There are those materialistic things that are making you happy.
Exactly.
When you're happy without reason, you are somewhere where nobody can touch you.
You've won.
You've won.
You
Exactly.
can't come
You're
out.
in your bubble and nobody can pop that bubble. But when you're basically looking for materialistic things, when you're looking for people to make you happy, or you're looking for the next holiday to make you happy, or for the next car to make you happy, that bubble will pop, my friend. And I think the one thing you have done basically is you have gone through the shit, but at the same time taking blessings from every single experience, and you have found your ultimate happiness where you say to yourself, no matter what happens on the outside, I'm good. Every day I'm good because I make a choice to be happy, and nobody can take that choice away from me. That is my choice. That's my God-given right.
Exactly. And that comes with just being grateful.
Exactly.
Being grateful.
Yeah. And it's grateful is exactly the word that I wish to end this with, because that is what everyone should basically be doing every single day. Just be grateful.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
you'll be surprised how far that can take you.
Exactly. You'll be surprised at how happy you can be as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Saj, thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you. That was a great chat. Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good podcast. Woo! That was good. That was a good podcast.
Yeah, nice one. That was good. Yeah, we had
Yeah.
some really good conversation.
That was good.
Nice
Yeah, I
one,
appreciate it, bro. That was a good one, man. See the way you just flowed? That was fucking brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was good, man. Yeah.